Hey folks, how we doing today? It's me again, Shannon Fox here, Devoted Patriots 2 channel, and there was a couple of things I have been thinking about. I've been watching a lot of Benny Johnson lately. If you don't know who he is, go check him out. He's on YouTube, he's on Facebook, he's on Rumble. He is one of the better commentators out there as far as having a good journalistic team to dig up the dirt on what's going on in the daily news. I watch him regular along with several other people, but as far as play-by-play, what's going on with the Jeffrey Epstein story, there's nobody else out there that has a better ear to the ground team for what's going on. Benny Johnson has cranked out about a dozen videos in the last couple of days over this Jeffrey Epstein situation, and I'm learning everything that I need to know from the Gateway Pundit and from Benny Johnson about this Epstein situation. Now, I do not want to do a bunch of videos on play by play what happens over this whole situation of exposing the pedophiles. This really breaks my heart more than I'm worried about all these people being exposed, which is a good thing. I'm more concerned as to why people aren't thinking about this whole business that has been allowed to happen under the guise of, I don't know, sickos. But the women, the children, the young girls that were trafficked by Epstein and people like Epstein is a real tragedy. And that should be the biggest news story of the day. The Miss Joffrey, the one that helped expose the story, along with several other ladies that have come forward in the past, that actually got Jeffrey Epstein in trouble. Jeffrey Epstein actually had a couple of cases against him and served minimal penalties as far as criminality for being a sexual predator. And I do not like to talk about the subject. It eats me up. It's a sickening situation. It's horrible, and it makes me angry to think that people are still getting away with this. The Bill Clintons of the world are still not in jail behind this situation. And before I put my emotions into the situation and start speculating on who has done what and who is guilty and all this, that, and the other, I started thinking about a couple of things. If you're friends with Michael Jackson and Kevin Spacey and Harvey Weinstein and Jeffrey Epstein, if those are your buddies, you're probably not a good human being. And that's what I have to believe. If one or two or many of those guys were in your circle of friends, you probably need to be not just on that list. You probably need to be investigated. And there's probably a whole lot of those out there. And I'm talking about billionaires, people that own big businesses all over the world, princes from other countries. The amount of evidence that is out there is unsurmountable already, and the Department of Justice and the FBI are hiding all they can about this actively because they were complicit to it, because Jeffrey Epstein was no doubt about it. At one point when he got hemmed up behind with the authorities, he probably showed them that he had blackmailable material on some of them guys and several people of great importance to the intelligence world. Therefore, he became an asset, like so many other people have that have gotten in trouble. The government, instead of locking them up for their sickness or their criminality, they just use them because they don't mind. It's just part of the program. That really bothers me, that our government is willing to let people like Jeffrey Epstein continue for years and years and years do their thing in order to spy on people. That is not justified as far as I'm concerned. There's human lives that have been affected by this, and it's really bothersome. There's a lady here, her name is, I forget at the moment, but she's a GMA reporter. Me and my wife watched her many a times on ABC GMA in the morning. Amy, I think her name is Amy Robok, That's it. But she was a GMA reporter. I believe she's no longer with the company over some other issues. But she had the story of Jeffrey Epstein. She had Bill Clinton dead to right as far as the evidence goes. She tried to break the story on ABC, and ABC suppressed it. They suppressed her 3 years of investigation. A woman in hiding for 12 years, Miss Jeffrey, come out and told the story for the first time on television to Miss Amy Robok, and ABC didn't want the truth out there. Never forget that, folks, when you're watching local television. ABC is not your friend. They don't want the truth out there to protect the pedophiles. That is a sickening statement to even have to say about any entity, any company, or anybody. But anybody that protects pedophiles at this time, at any time in history, is just a horrible human being. And that's just my opinion. I don't want to have a whole lot of opinions about who's doing wrong, who's guilty, who's on the list, who's been to the island. I only know what I see on the news, and I see a lot of speculation. I see Trump has already been exonerated. I seen that Trump has kicked Jeffrey Epstein out of Mar-a-Lago over flirting with a young girl. Actually, a security did it, and this was, I believe, 17 years ago. I got a little clip about that if you stick around to the end. But there is a can of worms that has been opened up. More documents dropping tonight. Documents dropped a couple of days ago. The names are starting to come out. People are starting to put the pieces together. But citizen journalists are starting to put this stuff together. Starting to figure out, okay, well, were they just on Lolita Express? Were they at the island? How many times were they around Epstein? What was their affiliation with Epstein? Why were they texting Epstein? Why were they phone conversations? This is going to open a can of worms into looking at everybody that's on that list, and most likely anybody that involved showing up at that island, whether it be through Lolita Express or by helicopter or by another plane, will eventually be brought into this whole situation. What's going to catch people up is how many times did you frequent Jeffrey Epstein's properties? That's going to be the thing that catches a lot of these folks. Now, how much prosecution will happen, I don't know. I know Bill Clinton ought to be in jail just from the things that I have learned over the last couple of days, and I have been following this closely. And I don't really want to report on it much, so I guess today is the day that I get out here and say all I can about it, all I want to, because this really is just heart-wrenching to me that nobody is talking about the young girls that were trafficked and abused, and they ought to be the one compensated by all these billionaires that ought to be in prison that thought this was okay. That's how I feel about it. But I just wanted to let you know that I don't like GMA. My wife watched it for years. I kind of got her off the ABC, GMA, NBC, local news, bandwagon. Got her watching some Fire Stick, Newsmax, and some Fox occasionally, and podcasts more than anything to get our information now, because there's more truth out there from citizen journalists than from big news, mainstream media at this point. We all know that, but let's go ahead and watch this clip here. This lady was brave, did her investigative homework, acted like a real journalist, fought to bring the story out, and it basically, just like Fox News has done, ABC is doing it, did it as well. Just squash the story if it means firing everybody involved to keep it suppressed because you're worried about offending somebody. Now here we go, folks.
I've had the story for 3 years. I've had this interview with Virginia Roberts. We would not put it on the air. First of all, I was told, who's Jeffrey Epstein? No one knows who that is. This is a stupid story. Then the palace found out that we had her whole allegations about Prince Andrew and threatened us a million different ways. We were so afraid we wouldn't be able to interview Kate and Will that also quashed the story. And then Alan Dershowitz was also implicated in it because of the planes. She told me everything. She had pictures. She had everything. She was in hiding for 12 years. We convinced her to come out. We convinced her to talk to us. It was unbelievable what we had. Clinton, we had everything. I tried for 3 years to get it on, to no avail, and now it's all coming out, and it's like these new revelations, and I freaking had all of it. I'm so pissed right now. Like, every day I get more and more pissed because I'm just like, oh my God, what we had was unreal. Other women backing it up. Hey, yep. Brad Edwards, the attorney, 3 years ago, saying there will come a day when we will realize Jeffrey Epstein was the most prolific pedophile this country has ever known. And I had it all 3 years ago.
Would you raise your right hand, please?
Yes.
Folks, that was a clip from Project Veritas, but I had seen this video actually when it came out. Actually, about, I think it was 6 years ago. And this is a point that I wanted to bring up behind this video. Do you realize that if Hillary Clinton would have become president in 2016 instead of Trump, and her husband Bill Clinton buddy with Epstein, Jeffrey Epstein would still be doing what he did for 15 or 20 years. He would still be doing it today. The story would still be suppressed. He would still be doing light term sentences every time he gets caught with his hand in the cookie jar, and the Democratic Party would still be doing cover for him in the whole situation. Thank God Trump showed up, fixed our Supreme Court where we got the majority, put some good people in place. He had some bad ones too, don't get me wrong. But he actually was the president at the time that didn't have his attorney general or anybody stop the situation at hand, which was Jeffrey Epstein needed to go to jail. Jeffrey Epstein needed to be investigated. Now, as far as what happened to Jeffrey Epstein, his death, you want to watch any information about what really happened, Tucker Carlson on X, otherwise known as Twitter, yesterday had an interview with Jeffrey Epstein's brother. Go watch it. It is unrefutable evidence Jeffrey Epstein was murdered, and I have no doubt about it before this, and when I seen this, it was just twice as much evidence. Go check it out, folks, and don't forget about Benny Johnson if you are watching what's going on play-by-play with the Epstein saga situation of this whole exposing the rats, exonerating the people that were affiliated but not in his sicko circle. It all will be played out and laid out as it goes, and the people that fight this, they're the guilty ones, no doubt about it. I got one more clip for you here, folks. This is nothing but good stuff as well. This here is Benny Johnson. Like I was telling you, Benny Johnson is one of the people I listen to, and he's got a clip here of what Trump said about kicking Jeffrey Epstein out of his Mar-a-Lago estate. His security did that, like I told you about here just a minute ago, but check this out.
Respect or good relationships or thoughts about Jeffrey Epstein. Donald Trump regularly savaged Jeffrey Epstein when asked about his relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. We have examples of that here.
Well, I knew him like everybody in Palm Beach knew him. I mean, people in Palm Beach knew him. He was a fixture in Palm Beach. I had a falling out with him a long time ago. I don't think I've spoken to him for 15 years. I wasn't a fan. I was not, a long time ago. I'd say maybe 15 years. I was not a fan of his. That I can tell you. I was not a fan of his.
So Donald Trump did ban Jeffrey Epstein from his club in Mar-a-Lago. Donald Trump banned Jeffrey Epstein from entering the premises of his clubs because Jeffrey Epstein was such a creep. Donald Trump did not mince words when asked about Jeffrey Epstein.
I was not a fan of Jeffrey Epstein, and you watched people yesterday saying that I threw him out of a club. I didn't want anything to do with him. That was many, many years ago. It shows you one thing, that I have good taste, okay? Now, other people, they went all over with him. They went to his island. They went all over the place. He was very well known in Palm Beach. His island, whatever his island was, wherever it is, I was never there. Find out the people that went to the island. But Jeffrey Epstein was not somebody that I respected. I threw him out. In fact, I think the great James Patterson, who's a member of Mar-a-Lago, made a statement yesterday that many years ago I threw him out. I'm not a fan of Jeffrey Epstein.
There you go. Donald Trump banned Epstein from Mar-a-Lago in 2007 before his conviction. Remember, a lot of these people were palling around with him after his predator conviction.
And that is the huge difference, folks, for me. If you didn't know Jeffrey Epstein was a sicko and you were taking pictures of him with him, doing fundraisers with him, hobnobbing with him because you didn't know what he was doing behind closed doors, that's one thing. If you were doing financial business with him because he was an investor or something, that's one thing. But if you were flying on his plane, hanging out with him, going to his island, making many trips to his house, or houses, many houses, if you were any way involved in the young children fetish sickness that went on around him. I mean, if you got a massage from a 15-year-old on his plane, your ass need to be answering some questions under the spotlight as far as I'm concerned. And that's the way I really feel about this whole situation. I hope a lot of this will get hashed out. A lot of it will be covered up. A lot of it will be suppressed. A lot of people will never be mentioned. Some people may go to jail. But more than anything, I hope the truth is exposed. And more than that, I hope the victims are able to get some kind of justice out of this, whatever justice is in this situation. I would hang them from their nutsacks if it was me, but this ain't about me. Like, subscribe, and share to Vote of Patriots. Really kind of a sad, heart-wrenching situation, other than the fact that this shit's coming out. It's being exposed. There is no hiding it now. Mainstream media can't stop this. Epstein looked like a pedophile that he was. Ghislaine Maxwell was his pimp. People like Bill Gates, Bill Clinton, slews of actors, top brass at the Pentagon, politicians, and elites, including world leaders and princes and royalty from other countries, all involved. And the FBI was a part of it to help cover it up, keep it going, in order to do their spy ring blackmail thing. I think that will be the final result of this whole situation. And as things go along, I may report on this again, but for the most part, I would rather be trying to report on things that affect our country. Not to say this trafficking doesn't affect our country, but unless they're going to lock these people up that are in the wrong here, let's get back to business. Trump 2024, folks. Like, subscribe, and share to Vote of Patriots. Everybody have a great day. Over and out.